My name is Julie. I go with Joel. He's my guy. He's my person, in case you don't know me. Would love to get to know you after the service. Anyways, we all love a good movie. Don't we love a good movie? If I were to ask this one question, we all would know how we would answer it. What's your favorite movie? What's your favorite movie? You know immediately the answer to that question, don't you? And while the answers may be as different as the number of people in here, there's one reason why we love it. Because we love a good story. Don't we just love a good story? Maybe it's a romantic comedy. And you just love how they get together in the end, and it's just so sweet and it's so good. Or maybe it's a comedy, and you just love how they tell the jokes. You love the sarcasm. You love the punch. You love the edge, and you just love a good comedy. Maybe it's a drama, and you love the layers of the emotion and the intrigue, and just how that all gets to the point at the end where they figure it all out. Or maybe a good mystery and the unraveling and the uncovering of it all. We just love a good story. And it doesn't matter, it could be a book, it could be a novel, it could be a biography. It doesn't matter because we just love a good story, don't we? We just love a good story. We understand that every story has a main character. And if you've got a protagonist, you've also got an antagonist. You've got to have that villain in there. It just makes it good, makes it juicy, right? You just love the conflict. You have to have a conflict in there. You have to have events that get you to that point, and you have to have a grand finale of how it all just works out in the end, doesn't it? We just love that. And I think it's because in our heart of hearts, y'all, we just want to write a good story with our lives, don't we? Don't we want to write a good story? We do. We want to live and breathe and walk a great story in our lives. We want stories of amazing love and triumph and victory in our lives. We want stories filled with truth and a good laugh and a lot of humor, maybe. Stories of families and reconciliation and healing and restoration. We want that for our lives when we're young. Think about when you were young. Think about the dreams that you had for your life. Oh my goodness, when I was young, I grew up in western part of South Dakota. I grew up in Rapid City. And I grew up there, and I was born a city girl. I know not everybody is, but I was born a city girl. And I loved the idea of Denver. I loved it. It was bigger than what I'd had. I loved the mountains. I loved the big city of it. I just wanted to live there so bad. And I tried to get there when I was in college. I tried to get there after college. I just tried. I wanted to be in Denver so bad. And so I'm going to date myself. Here we go. It was November of 1988. I'm like, I don't even care if I can't afford it. I'm going. That's it. I've had enough. I don't even care. So it was the weekend of Thanksgiving of 88. And I hauled into my little Nissan Sentra with my mom, and we blew into town. I didn't have a job. I didn't have a place to stay. I didn't even care. I went and found some room in some big old mansion that was right at 8th and Logan, right across from the governor's mansion. I moved into that. I rented a room there, found some temp place, got a job downtown at 14th and Blake. Oh, it was the best. I loved it, and I did it, that dream. It happened. But what happens when your dreams don't even remotely happen like you thought they were gonna? Not even a little bit. Like it just goes completely off course. When you make choices and you have no idea why you made that choice. When somebody else makes a choice and you have no idea why in the world did they make that choice. And then just life. Life just happens. All of us have experienced this. All of us. I have friends. They didn't get the job. They got the degree, but then they ended up going, I'm not even remotely in my field. How did this happen? The promotion they wanted. Didn't get into the school that they wanted to get into. They didn't get the score that they thought they were going to get on that test. I have friends, their marriages just imploded. What in the world? This isn't what I signed up for. Maybe you struggled with infertility, maybe babies. It's like, what is this? Whoa. And then your kids get older and then they're like adults and they're making decisions and you're like, what what is going on here? What is going on? And we get stuck yearning for the life that we thought we were going to have. We get stuck yearning for that life that we thought that we were going to have. And we have this pit in our stomach as we begin to live it out, and we go, it wasn't supposed to be this way. It wasn't supposed to be this way. And we end up stuck. Maybe it's in disappointment. Maybe it's in regret. Or maybe it's jealousy. Maybe it's just jealousy. I wish I had something different. And we stay tethered to that instead of releasing it. Instead of releasing it and moving forward in what God is calling us to do. And we're in this series called Tethered. And the big idea is this, is what we are tethered to holds us back or draws us forward. Joel introduced us to this idea last week. We are either tethered to what holds us back or to what draws us forward. We can't be both. We can't be both. And that idea of being stuck keeps us tethered. And Joel introduced us to this verse last week. It's Hebrews 12:1, and it's so good. And it says this, therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us. And we are going to dive into this verse again this week in different ways. Because here's the deal. God doesn't want us to stay stuck. God doesn't want us to stay stuck. He wants us to actually walk forward in freedom and hope and gratitude. And some of you are sitting here going, oh, you don't know my story. The idea of hope or gratitude, are you joking? Not today. But hang with me and we'll get there, I promise. So, jumping into this morning. So this verse in Hebrews is written by, obviously, the writer of Hebrews. And he, like Joel said, if you can just bring that verse back up, that Hebrews 12:1, if you can re-bring that verse back up. And that word right there, therefore. Therefore means something came before, right? So we've built up this whole thing. So therefore, since we're surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us move forward in this. And so what that's referring to there is the chapter right before it, which is Hebrews 11. If you've got time this week, you should just read it. Read Hebrews 11. And here's what it's talking about. We call it the Hall of Faith. The Hall of Faith. Because it's these people who lived and walked out their faith. And I think sometimes when we hear about these people in the Bible, they just had all their stuff together. Oh my goodness, they're heroes. They made the text. My word, they made it. They made it in. I didn't make it in. Oh my goodness. For crying out loud. All these people, they made it in. The Hall of Faith. Hebrews 11. They had dreams. But the reality is they're just men. And they're just women, just like me and you, who lived out their actual life and had dreams and had maybe some disappointments. They had some very difficult and very messy and nearly impossible situations that they came across. But every single one of these people that we're about to talk about here, every one of them had a choice. They had an intersection that they came to in their lives. Where they said, I've got a choice. I can either stay tethered to the life that I think that I'm supposed to have, the expectations that I have, or I'm going to follow God and walk in faith. And so when we jump into Hebrews 11, we're met with this whole row of people, and we're not going to go through, and we're not going to read the entire text because you're going to read it this week, aren't you? So we jump into chapter 11, and verse 4, it kicks off with Abel. Adam and Eve, 1 and 2. They have 2 sons, Cain and Abel. And Abel offered up this sacrifice, doing the right thing before God. And then sibling rivalry, anybody? His brother hated him. Cain hated Abel, hated what he did, so much so that he killed him. But Abel walked in faith. Verse 7 jumps into Noah, who was warned by God, you better build a boat. A what? I don't even know what a boat is, man. Just tell me what to do. I don't even know what that means. He gave up everything. He gave up his reputation. He gave up everything. He was just a man, but he gave up everything. He gave up everything to follow after God. Abraham and Sarah, they were promised kids. And this didn't make so much sense that Sarah just laughed. Are you joking? Do you see me? Do you see how old I am? This ain't happening. No way. Abraham was told to leave and just go find some other place. Abraham's just doing his thing. He doesn't know the end of the story. He's just doing his thing, and God says, walk in faith. And then you get to Isaac and Jacob. And Jacob had a lot of sons. And they were dysfunction junction. My goodness. And his sons were so jealous of their younger brother Joseph that they faked his death, told his dad, yeah, he died. I don't know what happened. He just died. When they actually sold him into slavery to get some money and get rid of the dude because they were so sick of their brother. Jacob didn't know the end of the story. Moses, it even talks in verse 23, it actually speaks of Moses' parents. Moses' parents who had faith enough to put their baby in a basket and let go of the basket. They didn't know. Moses, as he's grown up and now he's begging for the deliverance of the Hebrew people, he instructed them to cover their doorposts with the blood of the lamb so that it would save them from death. He didn't know. But here's what I love. Hebrews 11, we're going to bring this verse up. Hebrews 11, verses 13 through 16, it says, all of these people died still believing what God had promised them. They didn't receive what was promised, but they saw it from a distance and they welcomed it. They agreed that they were foreigners and nomads here on earth. Obviously, people who say such things are looking forward to a country they can call their own. If they had longed for the country they came from, they would have gone back. They could have gone back. But they were looking for a better place, a heavenly homeland. That is why God is not ashamed to be called their God, for he has prepared a city for them. All of them came to an intersection, you guys. They came to an intersection where they had to decide if they were going to continue to live in this life that they thought that they were expected, that they deserved, or they were going to turn their face and follow after what God had, even though they had no idea. They had no idea. They saw it out. They had no idea how the story was going to end. And again, all these things that these people walked through, some of it was a result of their poor choices. They just screwed up, man. Some of it was a result of other people's choices. Other people around them sinned against them, hurt them. And some of it is just because life just happens. It's just because life happens. And so we wrap up that chapter in Hebrews 11, and we get to, again, that verse, that opening verse in Hebrews 12:1 that we'll look at. It says, therefore, because of what these people have walked through, because of this, because since we are surrounded, we, like you and I, we're surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses. They've done this. They've been there. Let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us. That last part of that verse right there, the race marked out for us. When I was younger in school, middle school, I actually ran track. One of my events was the 800 relay, which means each leg runs a 200. I was much faster back then than I am currently. But I was pretty fast, and usually I was number 2. I couldn't get the fast sprint out at number 1, and I definitely couldn't bring up number 4 at all. I was not that girl. But I could run a good number 2. And so if you've done relay, or if you've watched it, you stand there and you are waiting, and you're just waiting, and you get the anticipation of this person coming before you, and you're watching them, and you're seeing how they're doing, and you get to cheer them on, you get to scream, yeah, do it, but you can't influence, you can't impact it. All you can do is just wait, and you're just waiting, and here they come, and boy, you better ready yourself, but get your head down, know where you're going. And at the right time, get moving and put that hand back and grab that baton, right? and then you run like crazy. Now, if the person that was coming before you messed up, was carrying too much, or just wasn't fast enough, that handoff didn't go smooth, it impacted your race. But regardless of whatever happened there, whatever happened before me, I was in my lane. And I knew that it was on me. This was my race to run. And I love this last part, this Hebrews 12:1. It says, let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us. For us, because you know what? God has stuff. God has stuff for us to run this one and only life. It didn't matter if I didn't like the race that I was running. I couldn't just stop in the middle of it and go, I'm just gonna wait till the next 800 relay. I'm just gonna wait. I'm just gonna hang out here in the middle of the field and I'll just hop back in next time. No, this is it. This is our shot. And as it says back in there, that verse that we read in Hebrews 11, it said that these people, that hall of faith people, that they received it from a promise and they saw it all from a distance and they welcomed it. That word welcome there is that they embraced it. They embraced it. And in our lives, God is calling us to run the race that he has marked out for us and to embrace it. Ooh, what? Embrace my story? Embrace my story. Do you know my story, God? Have you seen the way that they ran it before me? Do you see the family that I came from, how they brought, the way that they carried the baton was a mess. They had baggage, they had luggage, they're trying to carry all this junk with them while they're running, and they want to pass off not only baton, but all this luggage onto me at the same time. How am I supposed to run this life with all that came before me? And as I'm running, do you know the coaches beside me? Do you know the bosses? Do you know the people, the family that I'm currently running this race with? Do you see them? Do you hear what's going on around me? How am I supposed to run this race? And so what we do is we get stuck. We get stuck. And we stay tethered to disappointment. God, I thought it was going to be so different. We get stuck to regret. I wish I wouldn't have said that. And we replay it. We replay it. And we replay it. And we live in it. And we live in it. And we live in it. And we get stuck in jealousy. Look at their race, God. Look at the race that they're running. They're so free. They're so unencumbered. Why don't I get that race? Why do I get this race? I want that race. We get stuck and we stay stuck. And we stay tethered. So fast forward. So I'm living in Colorado. I find the job and I'm thinking, gosh, if I could just, maybe I could just get the guy. Maybe I could just have the kids. Maybe I could do all that. How cool would that be? And so I did. I got the guy. And I've got a house in Arvada. And I loved it. And I had the job. I was working downtown with the Denver Street School. I was their director of development. I'd just gotten promoted. And I had it. I had everything in my mind that I thought I wanted. And then all of a sudden, Joel gets a phone call from somebody down in Arizona saying, hey, why don't you come down and be a pastor down here in Arizona? And I'm like, no, oh my word. No, it's the desert. It's hot. It's stupid. It's wretched. No way on God's green, beautiful earth is he gonna want me to live in Arizona. No, this is my place. This is what I've dreamed of my whole life, and I got it. I am not, are you kidding me? But honey, they keep calling. And what if? Nope, we're gonna stay right here because this is safe and it's known. And I just got promoted. And if I can be honest, as a woman, I'm like, why does it have to be about your job? I mean, really, why does it have to be about your job? Why can't it be about my job? Really? Joel, really, this is what you want us to do? My family's here. We know one couple down there. They live in the desert. It's freaking hot. Why would anybody build a city there? Why? No. But they kept talking and asking. And I'm in turmoil. I'm like, no way. And I'm like, God, what if this is what you want me to do? Man, seriously, this is not what I signed up for. Are you joking? Come on, God, come on. Seriously, and I was so in turmoil on the inside. I was in so much turmoil. So one afternoon, it was in January, Joel had gone to work, and I was at home. I was working from home. And I was in so much turmoil. And your thoughts are just spinning, going, no, this is safe. That freaks me out. I don't know what's up there. I don't have any idea what's ahead. And what if it all goes to hell in a handbasket? What if it's bad? What if it's hot? But I'm in that moment, and it was around 3 p.m, and I remember it so distinctively. And I just found myself to the couch, and I dropped on my knees, literally falling on my knees right in front of my couch, going, God, I don't even know how to pray about this. What would you say to me right now? And all I heard was Isaiah 43. I have no idea what Isaiah 43 even meant. I'm like, okay. So I grabbed my Bible, and I opened it up. And here's what I read. Woo! Isaiah 43. Do not fear, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by name. You are mine. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you. And through the rivers, they will not overflow you. When you walk through the fire, you will not be scorched, nor will the flame burn you. For I am the Lord your God, the Holy One of Israel, your Savior. And do not fear, Julie, for I am with you. I will bring your offspring from the east and gather you from the west. I will say to the north, give them up, and to the south, do not hold them back. Bring my sons from afar, my daughters from the end of the earth. Everyone who's called by my name and whom I have created for my glory, whom I have formed, even whom I have made. And this right here, do not call to mind the former things, or ponder things of the past. Behold, I will do something new. Now it will spring forth. Will you not be aware of it? And here we go. I will make a roadway in the wilderness and rivers in the desert. I literally just stopped. I am still on my knees. I am still at the edge of the couch going, are you for real? Whew, I just have goosebumps even talking about it, you guys. Let me bring up that last part of there in Isaiah 43, 18 through 19. It says this, do not call to mind the former things or ponder things of the past. Behold, I will do something new. That word new right there, guess what it means? New. It means a fresh thing. A fresh thing. Think about the things that are new, with new babies, new jobs, new relationships, new careers, new possibilities, things that you step into that are brand new. There's an excitement, there's an anticipation, there's so much goodness in it. This is what God says he's doing. I will do something new, I will spring forth. Will you not be aware of it? That word aware right there, there's an intimacy to it. Will you not be aware of it to your core? When we are tethered to these things that are disappointing and full of regret and full of jealousy, when we tether ourselves to these things, we can't even see the new things that God might do to us, for us, in us, through us. We can't even see that when we tether ourselves to the things that are just so, it wasn't how it was supposed to be, God. It wasn't supposed to be. I didn't know. As I knelt on my couch right there, I had no idea. But it's the same. It's all these folks from Hebrews 11. They didn't know. They didn't know. They didn't know how it was all going to work out. But God proved himself so faithful and so trustworthy. And I have the hindsight of time going, we went to Phoenix. We lived there for only 3.5 years, but I'm telling you, some of the richest relationships, teenagers that we got to shepherd, who are some of my dearest, sweetest people in my life. Now I get to meet their babies, and Joel's had the opportunity to do the wedding ceremonies for several of them, baptize several of them, and they're just the richest relationships. And I don't regret a moment of it, and I'd have missed it all. I'd have missed it all if I'd have just kept clinging on to what I knew and gone, this isn't the way. I'm a Colorado girl. I don't need to move from this spot. No, Julie, I have streams in the desert to give drink to my chosen people. Now move forward in it. So how do we do this? It's a good story. It's great in theory. Yay, good job, Jules. Way to go. So happy it worked out for you. But look where I am at. And I don't know everyone's situation in here, but I know some of y'all. I know some of what y'all are walking through. And there's disappointment, and maybe some anger, and maybe some regret, and maybe some jealousy of some things that are happening. And so how do we do this? Because here's the deal. We love a good story, and we want to live it. You want to live it. But you can't do it hanging on to all of that. God has stuff for you to do. We are to run the race that God has marked out for you and I. We have got to do that, or we are going to miss it. So how do we do that? The first one is this. It's an S word, and it's surrender. Ooh. It's that point where I'm standing in my living room and I'm like, I don't know what to do. I want to hold on, but okay, God, I'm just going to drop on my knees. What do you have to say? Because here's what we want to do. We want to strategize. I don't need to surrender. I'm going to strategize. Okay, all right. So if we're going to do this, then we're going to do that. And we can figure this out, and I'm going to plan it out. And God, if you could just get on board, here we go. We're going to strategize, and then I'll pray about it, and it'll be great. Strategize it out. And God says, surrender. God says, surrender. Surrender to what I have planned for you. It may not be what you think it is. Surrender to it. So we're going to surrender first. And maybe that's surrender for you before I jump into the next one. Maybe that surrender for you is, God, I've never done this before. I've never even surrendered to you. I've heard about it. I've thought about it. What if today you surrendered? What if today you surrendered to God? What if today you surrendered to God? What if today was the day? God, I surrender. I don't want to miss it. I don't want to miss it. Number one, surrender. Number two, speak to your soul. Speak to your soul. We hear a lot about self-talk, which is fine. Come on, Julie, you can do this. Let's go. Come on, Julie, let's go. But there's a difference in speaking to your soul. Your soul is what remains. It says in Ecclesiastes that God has set within us eternity. When we give our lives over to him, the Holy Spirit, the same power that raised Jesus Christ from the dead, lives within us. That is our soul. Speak to your soul, it says. It says in Isaiah 43:5, why are you cast down, oh my soul? This is not self-talk. This is not just pulling yourself up by your bootstraps. No, this is my soul. Why are you so cast down? Why are you in turmoil within me? Hope in God. For I shall again praise him, my salvation and my God. In those moments where you're disappointed, where you're full of regret, where you're full of jealousy, speak to your soul. Speak to your soul and say, but God, your way is better. Your way is better, and I don't want to miss it. Speak to your soul. And the last one there, this last one here, it says, thank God that he is moving beyond what your eyes can see. Thank God that he's moving beyond what your eyes can see, because you know what? Sometimes we just see what we see with our own eyes. But God has so much going on behind the scenes that you don't even know about. We want so much to understand every last thing. We want to be informed. We want to Google it out. And we want to know the deal. How's it going to end? Because we want a good story. We want to know how the ending is going to be, and it's going to be a good story. But we don't. And so again, fast forward, as I'm kneeling, as I'm thinking, and God is like telling us we're going to go to Phoenix. Again, those verses that he says in there, back in Isaiah 43, and it says, do not fear, for I'm with you. I'm going to bring your offspring from the east, and I'm going to gather you from the west. I didn't know on that January morning in 2003 that in August of 2006, I'd be taking a trip to Haiti. And that God was gathering my sons from the east. I was going to need to get to Indiana because he was gathering my daughter and my other son from the east. He was going to have to gather me from the west. And God prophesied. I didn't even know it. I didn't even know it at that moment. That God was going to end up fulfilling this and bringing my children to me as he gathered me from the west and brought my kids from the east. I had no idea. You have no idea how God's going to work this out in your life. I'm going to ask the band to come on up. I realize that whatever point you're at in your story, you just want to know that it's all going to work out. And I don't know why things happen the way that they are. I don't understand why bad things happen to good people. I can't explain it. And a lot of us spend a lot of time exhausting ourselves trying to figure that one out. Why did this happen? Why? And here's the only way that I can wrap my brain around it, is when my kids were little, there's no way I'm letting them go everywhere that they want to go because I know better. Because they actually don't even have the capacity. They don't even have the brain space or the emotional maturity. They don't even have the capacity to understand what I know. Because I just know stuff that they don't know. But they question me, of course, because that's who they are. And we question God, of course, because that's who we are. But it's Isaiah 55, 8 and 9 that says, for my thoughts, Julie, are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so my ways are higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. We don't understand. It might be 3 o'clock on a January morning for you, and you're on your knees going, God, I don't understand, and I don't want to move to Phoenix. I don't want to move into this next season. I don't want to step out in faith. I don't want to, because I get this. And even though I know I'm living in disappointment, even though I know I'm living in jealousy, I understand this. But I'm still so frustrated that it's here. What if God wants you over here? What if he wants you to move into that next season of your life and do it? Are you going to miss it? He writes the best stories. God writes the best stories. The best. Be tethered to God. Be tethered to God because he is so worth it. Would you stand with me? And pray with me. God, you know where you're leading each one of us. You have a race that you have marked out for each of us. And as you are standing in your space right now, wherever you're at, whether you're here or online, whatever it is, if there is disappointment, would you surrender that? If there is regret, would you offer forgiveness? And would you surrender that? If there is jealousy of someone else's race, would you repent of that and go, God, this is my race and I will embrace it. And I don't know what the future holds, but maybe all I can do is just raise a hallelujah. Maybe that's all I can do. All I can do. And just trust you with the rest. As we go into this next song, would you speak out to the Lord what is in your heart out of gratitude? Because he writes such a good story for us.